make sure that everything's working properly. It's been a little bit since I've done this. Okay. Alright, while people are showing up, I can open new links. Get that all working. Okay, so let's see if Talking Head his YouNow accounts. Okay, so, alright, people are here. So guys, here's what's been going on. So on YouNow, let's just say one of the more infamous streamers, Talking Head, has returned. Last time, for those of you guys who are new here, last time we were streaming, Talking Head came on, and we were talking about if he comes back, what is he going to do if Talking Head returned? Well, he has returned, and here's what he did. The same old, same old. He didn't even mention me this time, which is really interesting that he did not mention me, because a lot of people are going to start asking him, why were you gone for 4 months before you returned back to YouNow? And the answer is really, really, really simple. Well, I suspended him, that's why. And we have recordings. He called Jacob Perkins and a couple other YouNowers and told them the reason he wasn't going on to YouNow was because I suspended him. I mean, he admitted this. So, what's he going to do now? What's he going to do on YouNow now? Well, he isn't streaming right now. He streamed yesterday, about 45 hours ago. So, I'm not sure if he's going to start another live stream or if that was just sort of a weird come on, come off kind of a thing. If he does return while I'm streaming, I think it will be a bloodbath for him. It always is a bloodbath when Talking Head comes on and we're streaming. So, I got the message just a couple minutes ago from my friend Dan, and he was telling me, he's like, dude, Talking Head's back. And I'm like, man, that takes guts, especially for Talking Head, in order to come back on to YouNow. So I just want to show you guys as much information as I can on what's on with Talking Head. And, yeah, and maybe he will come on while we're here. I'm not entirely sure. But here's his site, his YouNow account. Thank you, Catherine, for the 50 likes. His site's a different thing, and believe me, it's a wreck, too. We'll check that out. It's so hilarious to read it, because he has so many spelling errors in it. You'd think he'd fix it, but no. So, in his moment section, you can see, right here, his last live stream that he did. And let's see where it is. So, they got a couple moments, and believe me, it's been a blast to watch him back. I never thought he would return. When he did return, though, I was legitimately excited. So, let's see here. One of these moments was taken by a guy named Tazkin Noah. Some of you know him. He's really, really funny to see how he acts on YouNow, because he's a socialist Muslim. And whenever he comes on here for the past 4 months, he said, I don't defend Talking Head. I don't do this. So, and now he's coming on and he is defending Talking Head. And the reason why is because on YouNow, you're kind of defenseless as a socialist without Talking Head. So why I don't like this guy. So about 4 months ago, that's loading, but 4 months ago, he came on to YouNow and I found his live stream and he was making up stories about Trump that weren't true. They just weren't true. He had literally a BuzzFeed piece of paper. He takes BuzzFeed papers out and he just reads them off. And he was saying this about Donald Trump, that about Donald Trump. And he lied about illegal immigration. He was saying no one immigrates to the United States legally, which is, I mean, even liberals, as low-quality intellect as they are when it comes to politics, this guy really blows the lid. I mean, he just, wow. He was saying no illegal immigration happened, so I guested with him. I said, dude, you're lying. Don't lie to your audience. And he's got a couple thousand followers, too. So I was telling him, look, you got about 46 people watching, you got 4,000 followers, and you're lying to your fans about Donald Trump just to try to get the socialist viewers. That's really what you're trying to do. He's like, that's not true. And I kept on saying it. Yeah, it is true. Prove me wrong. And then he blocked me. He dropped me from the stream, and he blocked me. Turns out, after I got blocked, about 50 or so people came to my account on YouNow, and they said, we've been blocked too for doing the same thing. Take a look at our moments. And they have moments... Had a glitch. Okay, now it's back. One of Talking Head's former workers, basically, a website designer. They're just friends on YouNow, and he happens to be able to make websites. So he made him a website, and while he was making the website, Talking Head started to make fun of him. He started to make fun of him and his spiritual beliefs and that kind of thing. And the next thing that happened was he said, I'm not working with you anymore. Like, it's okay to debate religion, but you're just being mean. You aren't doing debate. You're just making fun of me. So he left Talking Head's crowd, joined my crowd, me and Dan's crowd at the time. And maybe Dan will return with this drama. I think he might. That would be really cool if the Impeach Talking Head days returned. As you can see, I'm using hashtag Impeach Talking Head. The reason why is because 4 months ago, when this all started, when he started to make up stories about Trump, and he blocked us, we started this thing to try to get people to stop watching him. We would just watch his stream, and we'd be like, dude, you're lying about Donald Trump. Because that's really all he does, is he lies about the president. And so we would just live stream and, expose what's going on. I mean, it's just really hysterical. And if he live streams again, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And some of my moments, if you go back 4 months, you will see unbelievable propaganda of utter lies that he spewed out. But basically, it got to the point where we were doing better than him on YouNow. We would use the same hashtag talk at the time. And what would happen is that I would get more popular than him every single night of the week. And he would stream every day of the week, and so did I at the time. So he was getting really mad. I was getting 60 viewers at a time while he was getting about 30. So he was just, really irritated with me. So the next thing he does is he starts to swear at me. He starts to, lots of comments that are against the community guidelines. It happens I pulled out the community guidelines of YouNow, and I said, dude, you're breaking the rules. I'm going to get you suspended. So I reported him, and me and about 30 other people he banned and was also calling names, simply for exposing the lies that he was making up about the president. All came out. They all exposed him. And YouNow said, we're sorry. We don't think he's breaking the rules. And we were just like, whatever. So we decided to start the hashtag Impeach Talking Head movement, which was basically, let's just see if eventually, we have a lot of people, right now all reporting him to YouNow under perfectly, good reasons. I mean, he was breaking the guidelines of YouNow. And they want to get him suspended. So we figured, let's just keep trying at this. Let's try the hashtag Impeach Talking Head. And a lot of people made fun of it. They were like, oh, you can only impeach a president. That's not true. Impeachment means to question the validity of a person. And it usually refers to the president, but it can refer to other people as well. So that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're just showing he's not very good live streamer. He's lying to his viewers, and that's what socialists usually do. So we were just doing that. And next thing you know, a YouNow partner came onto my live stream, and the YouNow partner said to me, dude, he's breaking the rules. I'm going to tell his manager. YouNow partners have managers, apparently. So he said, I'm going to tell my manager about this guy, and he's going to get him suspended. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. So for the past 4 months, Talking Head has been suspended. Technically, he had a 48-hour suspension at the beginning, because suspensions on YouNow don't go above 48 hours. And if you get banned, your account disappears. You don't exist on YouNow anymore. So what happened is, he's been hiding from me. At the time, I was 14. Which, we couldn't get over. It's like a 14-year-old scared this guy to death. The guy's 72 years old, and he can't take a phone. I mean, it's hilarious. But he got suspended for 48 hours, and then he disappeared for 4 months. No one saw him. And then yesterday, he came back. No, Richard didn't do anything in the Impeach Talking Head movement. who's another guy. I'm not sure what his name is now. Last time he was on here, his name was It's White Boy, spelled with a B-O-I. He's always changing his name, but he was on here, and he was a YouNow partner, and he got suspended. I might actually have some of the messages still on my phone. Do you know him? The white boy guy? Let's see here. You keep him nightmares for 4 months. He wouldn't come back on. So I'm recovering from a cold, so might be coughing. Hopefully my medicine will kick in. You gotta love Tylenol. But yeah, I mean, and he's just the first guy. There are a lot of other people that really don't like me. Jacqueline Glenn, she's an atheist on YouTube mainly, but she has a live stream on YouNow occasionally, about once or twice a week. I got probably 15 requests from people on my live stream. My own followers. A lot of my followers are atheists, which I'm not an atheist. I'm a very strong theist. But a lot of my said, you should debate her. She'll school you. I'm like, right. I'd happily debate her. So I go onto her account, and I say, would you be willing to debate me? I would like to debate you. A lot of people have told me to debate you. And she's like, oh, no, you, so many people say they want to debate. I don't want to debate right now. What's so funny is that the atheist on my live stream sent me photos through message and email of her saying in the chat, I will debate anyone, trying to, they were hoping that I wouldn't accept the challenge. They were hoping I wouldn't accept it, and that they could say, look, Hunting the Left's this cool channel, but he can't defend theism, which isn't true. So they were hoping they could catch me under their thumb and be like, ha, see, we have screenshots of her saying she would debate you, and you still wouldn't debate her. You're just afraid. So I have these photos of her saying she's willing to debate me. I go to her live stream. I say, hey, some people told me to debate you. You told them that you'd be willing to debate anyone. Why? Let's get in the guest queue. I want to debate you. And she said, no. I have tons of people debate me all the time. I'm busy. I'm tired. I have other things to do. Oh, you know what you're doing? You're an attention whore. And she started say that I was trying to get attention for debating with her. Now, if any of you know who Jacqueline Glenn is, if you're trying to get attention by being on Jacqueline Glenn's tailcoats, I'm sorry, but you're going to fail miserably, because Jacqueline Glenn is one of the most infamous YouTubers out there. She's an utter failure when it comes to her videos. I mean, her whole career has been screwed over because she's a plagiarizer when it comes to almost every one of her videos. So no one really takes her seriously anymore. And so I was just like, look, you're the only atheist on YouNow who's publicly atheist that, might be willing to debate, who has a YouTube channel specifically about atheism. Yeah, she called me attention whore. So basically have just sort of been, and she banned me after that, by the way. She banned me after that, because, the more questions I ask, the more she says, and, eventually people start to root for me and root for her. They basically, wherever there's drama, YouNow really exposes the drama. It really comes out. Jacqueline Glenn. If you look up Jacqueline Glenn, if you look up Jacqueline, it should come up. But basically, she's banned me. A couple of other people in the LGBT hashtag have banned me. I came on there and I showed them the health reports. I was like, dude, homosexual behavior has been proven not to be normal, and you're really spreading propaganda for a mental illness. And they got mad at me, and they banned me, and they do this whole thing, and so basically, I've been in hashtag guys. There haven't been too many people to debate. Most of them ban me, and if they ban you, you can't guest with them. So it's a disappointing thing. And a lot of people have come on here and been like, I'm really disappointed you don't debate liberals as much as you used to. And I'm like, well, they banned me. They all banned me because I make them look bad. So that's what happened there. Now, back to Talking Head. He got the drama. It was the biggest drama on YouNow. If you guys weren't there, bro, I didn't even know you were back on. What's it called? Didn't know I was back on? Talking about is back on. I've been back on for quite some time. But basically, the drama with Talking Head got so big that people started to make YouTube videos asking for YouNow to take him away. And I'm going to show you one of those YouTube videos now. And if you look up Impeach Talking Head, there are videos all over the place trying to expose him on YouNow for calling people names. This is a great video. Like, I don't appreciate you about the LGBT community because I have gay dads, but other than that, you have great points. Well, here's the problem, is that why should a kid... I mean, I'm not afraid to get personal with people. And I think that gay parents don't do what's best for a kid. I'm just saying. Because, in general, why would you not allow a kid to have a mom and a dad? Why not? And Patch hunting the left for putting people in their place. I'm taking screenshots of all those nice comments. Thanks. Yeah, but basically, I really wish Dan was back here. Dan was such a great encouragement to me when I was first getting started. I just turned 14. I was like a little 13-year-old at the time when I first found out about YouNow. So I'm on here, and I found him, Talking Head. And here's the thing that really bothers me. When people come on YouNow, and there are a lot of people that come on YouNow, and they talk about Christianity, and they try to be these evangelicals, but they don't talk about facts. They only talk about, faith. And sure, the Bible talks about faith. It does. Science talks about faith too. Like, we did see the Big Bang, that kind of thing. But, but if you want to win an argument, let's show people why we are willing to take the leap of faith in some areas, because we have stronghold evidence in others. So that's basically what I did. And what Talking Head's a Catholic. And he has a lot of heresies that he spreads around. Like, homosexual lifestyle, under biblical rules, quite specifically says, even in the Testament as well, like, homosexuality, similar to adultery, similar to divorce, similar to all other sin, is sin, and there's a reason it's a sin. Because homosexuals, the average life expectancy is, 40 years old. That's not too great. If there was a way to change that, that'd be wonderful. So when people say, I'm born this way, I'm just like, what? That doesn't sound like a good thing to be born with. Would you rather be able to live into your 90s just as happy, more happy, with a family, and actually be able to have your own kids instead of having to use a weird lab in order to get your kids made? I mean, does that sound better? And honest gays that I've talked to, and there are a lot out there that are brutally honest, and they have said, yes, I wish that I had the same feelings towards women as I do towards other men, but I just can't help it. Now, I disagree, because I've been in their same situation, and I could help it. I prayed it a lot, and it disappeared. It was amazing. But I'd rather not live that long, to be honest. Well, you go ahead and live. You can live as long as you want. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to argue with some people who say they don't want to live that long. I'm happy living in my 90s. My great-granddad lived into his 90s, and he's still alive right now, actually, and I mean, he's just the greatest guy. I think we're pretty happy as a family together because we have each other. But is it healthy? I mean, we have each other like friends, because you gotta understand, I went to a youth theater until I was 14. Until last year, I was in a youth theater in San Diego, California. If there's a place you're going to go to find gay kids, it's there. And I was the only straight kid there. And so, at the time, some people left that shortly afterwards, and they stopped liking boys, and they great. And I was just like, wow, what changed? And they're just like, I don't even know. And I'm just like, okay. But basically, I've looked at it, and there's just such a mess in every one of them. There's so much baggage that's hidden in every one of them. Because the truth is, everyone wants love in life. And the problem is that some people have this situation where they either have been abused. Almost every gay I've talked to has been abused. Almost every single one. I haven't actually run into one that wasn't abused. On my Instagram, I debate them all the time. And I'm just like, so you're abused, and they feel the shame because of it. And they decide, this is the only thing I'm good for. This is the only thing people want me. I understand it's a really dark place before you do that. And that's why only 1% of Americans are gay. It's because the amount of abuse, the amount of baggage that goes into it before someone decides this is the best way to live my life is huge. You think homosexuality is a choice. Well, it's been proven to be a choice from multiple studies that have been done in the last decade. They stopped doing them a couple years ago. I think the last study was 2008. And the reason why is because their studies showed with identical twins that were born, what they found was less than 11% of the time, the identical twins would turn out both gay. And here's the problem with that. If being born is a gene, or you're born this way, well, identical twins should both be gay 100% of the time, not 11% of the time. That makes a stronger argument for an environmental differential. Now, that proves you aren't born this way. Now, I have no doubt it's a hard choice to change back and forth because it's like depression. You don't choose to be depressed. But if any counselor will tell you, you can choose to leave depression. And if you really try, it works. I mean, but you have to really try. It's a really hard challenge. So, well, hasn't science proven sexuality in animals, so how can you say humans shouldn't be gay? Yes, and the animal, first of all, I don't think that we are animals. So if you, that's like me saying cars break down on the road all the time, so it's okay if I break down, cars chug gas, so I can chug gas. So I don't think that we're related to animals. So that's the difference with that. You don't choose gay. I'm sorry, but science does not agree with you. It just doesn't. So, I mean, I think I get what most gays are saying when they say I don't choose this way, because it wasn't like, ooh, I'm going to be gay one day. It's a slow movement where you discover this lifestyle, and it's more like a temptation that you decide, maybe I should do this, maybe I shouldn't. You have never been to know. I was suicidal until I was 13, so I actually can. But, and I actually talked to some people about depression on my Instagram. So, I know exactly what it's like. And then also, studies have been done. I mean, if you look up Ben Shapiro on transgenders and accusing the reason their life expectancy is so low, it's because they're all committing suicide because people say this is just a problem with them. No. There have been studies done of gays in isolation still committing suicide. Just with other gays, isolated to purely gay communities, they still kill themselves. And the reason why is because the life they're living isn't sad, drives them insane. And there's a better way to live your life, and I think they can be helped. When they say they're born this way, how can I help them? You can't. They're already in the grave. So I'm trying to help you here. It's a choice if you sleep with a guy. It's a choice if you complain. I'm not quite sure what you're trying to say. Why was I suicidal? Mainly because one day I woke up and nothing made sense anymore. I realized, I'm not sure if my depression is the same as everybody else's, but I woke up and I had a lot of hobbies. Like, I was a very dedicated guy. I would read lots of books. I would do all sorts of things. I'd have parties with friends, and all of a sudden one day, empty. Like, it was an illusion of fun. And the main reason it was like that was because the last day I was an atheist was the day I left depression. And, I mean, this is the true testimony of me, is that I was watching an evolution video by National Geographic, and it's like, you're related to the land snail and worms in the dirt. And I was like, I step on worms all the time. Does my life have any value at all? And the truth is, in an atheistic worldview, I couldn't prove it. And talking to other atheists in forums, on sites about how to deal with this, they admitted to me, yeah, we can't really win on the moral grounds at all. Atheists can't do it. And I said, that's scary. So I began to say, look, I want alternatives, but I don't want illusions. So I had to do a really in-deep study of whether or not God existed, because I figured if there's any purpose, it could only come from a purpose maker. A designer is just about the only way purpose could be established. It's like telling someone they're fat. You hear that enough and you'll think you're fat. I mean, it's true. Environmental conditioning is so powerful, and it's quite. Environmental conditioning, it's hard to see on the surface. Just a lot of times. Let's see. What have you been through in life? Well, let's see. I've moved around a lot in life. Trying to think rough times. There've been a few car accidents. Your parents died? No. None of my parents have died. One of my dad's close friends, he was bipolar, stopped taking his pills, and he tried to kill me. But other than that, I've had a few traumatic experiences, but other than that. So you don't know real sadness. I was ready to kill myself. Like, the illusion of parents disappeared. See, when I was an atheist, I said, look, if we're all just accidents like trees, grass, dirt, sky, well then heck. My parents are no more special than any other parents. It's only because of this environmental illusion. Like the same arguments I used against Christians, that I would say, like, look, you listen to your parents telling you the Bible's good so much and then you believe it. Well, as an atheist, I would listen to my parents tell me, they're my parents, and they tell me the stories at night. And it would form connections, but they were purely mental tokens that were not valuable in any way when put up to scrutiny in philosophical terms as an atheist. So I decided my parents had no value. They may as well have been dead, because, what difference does it make? That's why I came this close to killing myself. So, I remember looking in knife drawers. So, after that, I decided if I'm going to kill myself, I want to make sure I may as well, if nothing else makes any sense to me, I may as well spend what time I have left with my mind to figure out a different worldview. I want to do a final search to see if there's something about the world I don't know that would change this situation I'm in. And I found it. And it's theism. Knowing there's God has been absolutely amazing. And it wasn't because I read the Bible. I knew there was God because of a scientific study showed there had to be one. I had a lot of scientific friends that my dad would hang out with. And as an atheist, I'd just sort of sit there and just be like, or more like a skeptic, but I would just sort of be there and I'd just be like, you're talking about the Bible. Oh, what's the deal? I just don't get it. And then scientists would start talking about stars and things they discover, and I'd just light up. I was like, I can feel this guy out. I know what he's talking about. I understand it. So, basically, through that, I was able to ask him some questions, and it turns out he was a former skeptic, and then he went into physics. He said, I stopped being an atheist when I realized that mathematically, it's impossible for the universe to happen by accident, because mathematics tells us what can happen, what can't happen. Mathematics can tell us what's possible and what's not possible. And the day that 4 plus 4 equals 3, evolution might work out. The Big Bang might have happened by accident. The likelihood of it happening by accident is mathematically impossible. And that idea, I just couldn't quite grasp it. I was like, impossible or improbable? And he was like, impossible. And he showed me the mathematics. And I wasn't a calculus guy or anything like that. I still am not. But he was like, dude, do you know what the 10th power is? And he explained a little bit about it. And he was like, dude, the universe did not come about by accident. Scientifically impossible. Something else is going on. And I said, well, if there is a God, why did he make us? Or deity. Whatever you want to call it. Overall, in the Western world, it's God. In the scientific world, it's deity. It's all the same thing. So basically, it's just like, why were we made? And that gets into my theological study of the Quran and the Bible and other books, because I went through all of them. And after a really deep study, I realized not only is the Bible more probable, but it's historically backed up on almost all of its New Testament claims. And that's what really blew me away. And I said, and there's an argument called the minimal facts argument, and that goes into all sorts of things. But Power of 12 is more, it gets pretty crazy. Let's see, why does it matter to you what Talking Head does on his program? Just don't go on his program. Well, most of the time, Talking Head makes up stories. I haven't watched his live stream in over 4 months, but last time he did live stream, he made up other lies, and we were exposing them, because when you have 4,000 people listening to you, you should tell the truth. And it was before, and this was right when the election was going on. This was an important topic to debate. Now, I'm not sure if he changed or something like that between now and here. I haven't seen his live stream, but I'll definitely check it out. So you weren't depressio, I think you mean depressed, because you were a weak human being. Well, I was just as valuable as a rock. I figured if I'm going to be consistent in my worldview and what my values are, because our values are really what we risk our lives over, all sorts of things like that. And basically, yeah. Values are important. We go to wars over values and these kinds of things. So I figured if I'm going to be logical with my values before I kill myself, because obviously killing myself is still a value. I still have a value that my life is invaluable. That's still a value. I figured there's got to be something more to this. There's got to be something more. Like, animals don't think about these kinds of things, do they? I don't know. So here's a big study. Your ESP comment at that show was quite impressive. Oh, thank you. Yeah. What's his name? Roger Penrose. If you guys go to my Instagram, you can see I do talk with scientists, big scientists. Roger Penrose is a big deal in the scientific world. He talks about quantum mechanics and relativity and these kinds of things. Really neat. Hardly anyone tells the truth on social media. Well, if you're a liberal, all your friends are hardly going to tell the truth on social media, that's for sure. Let's see. You gave no real reason as to why you were in depression. It just sounds like you were a weak whim. No. No. I was happy because I saw things had purpose. I had purpose. I had a purpose and a bigger plan to some degree. I wanted to do what was fun. And then one day I stumbled upon a evolution video. I stumbled upon an evolution video, and it said we're all animals. Animals do also have to have value judgments. To some degree, yeah, they have instinct. They don't have quite the same value system, not nearly like we do, but yeah, to a degree they have some system. I want, but morality-wise with animals, not really. It doesn't really exist. There's just prosperity of the species. It's really just survival of the fittest. So when a lion doesn't kill its cub versus the runt, it'd happily kill its runt. So it's really just about survival of the fittest in the animal world, and I figured a world where I follow Locke's conclusion on evolution would be a nightmare. It would turn into Adolf Hitler-style killings, and that freaked me out quite a bit. So that's what really triggered my depression, was I realized, how can I care about happy things when I have this big question sitting on my head? So I had to do that. Animals do also have judgments. Yeah, they aren't the same thought process. You make me think of Tim Allen in Last Man Standing. I haven't seen that movie. I need to see that. I've never seen a talking snake. Snakes don't have vocal cords. Okay, here's something you need to know, is that before the flood, things were very different. I guess what we could say is, the reason there aren't talking snakes now is the same reason there aren't dinosaurs now. They're either extinct or, pretty much extinct. So basically a lot of people think, well, maybe talking snakes when it's extinct. That's not really a question, though. Whether or not they're talking snakes doesn't prove God. So for me, that was never an issue. I was just like, either there is God or there isn't. And if the Bible has all the evidence, heck, I'm going to believe it. And I think to take the faith and say maybe there was a talking snake that talked to them, for me, that's the smallest leap of faith I could take out of the two worldviews. It took more faith for me to believe in the Big Bang than to believe a talking snake told me to do something wrong. Honestly, at the end of the day, it takes more faith to believe in the Big Bang than that. So, they brought back the canon. What? What canon? The Big Bang contains more science. I don't know what you mean by contain science. Science is just a means to discover truth. Big Bang doesn't contain science. Science explains the world that we live in. And one of the theories, and one of the worst ones out there, is the Big Bang Theory. It's been disproved by so many different scientists. But unfortunately, scientists like Halton Arp, and if you look them up, they discover things that utterly disprove it. The conservation laws say that a spinning object that turns, if it separates and explodes, as they say the Big Bang did, whatever was spinning, where did that come from? Who knows? But if it was spinning, everything it shoots out when it explodes should be spinning as well. Galaxies, stars, planets, etc. They should all be spinning in the same direction. Yet there are several galaxies, entire galaxies, spinning the opposite direction. And scientists said, yes, mathematically, there's no explanation for how it could have turned around. It's an utter anomaly. It's like, well, how does that work? There's just a lot of things that point to it wasn't an explosion. It was just a random creation. It certainly couldn't have been one source. There's a lot of problems with it. You do not have real depression. You haven't experienced anything bad in your life. You only wanted to take your life because you are weak. Neon Nicole, are you saying you have a better life than I do? Because right now your comments really show how much of a... what you say, the heart speaks what's in the mouth speaks within the heart. And to be 100% honest, you don't seem so friendly right now. And you asked me a question. I'm telling you. If you want to say I was weak, well then heck, every depressed person's weak. No one's going to say, that guy's depressed. He's strong. I was strong, and then I was weak, and then I got strong again. Yeah, depression weakens people. That's what it does. But how did the Big Bang accumulate, I wonder? I'm a pessimist naturally. Okay. How old am I? I'm 15. I have to say, I'm not sure. I need to take a quiz on whether or not I'm a pessimist or an optimist. I'm probably a pessimist, but we'll figure that one out. Need to take a quiz. See, has Talking Head come back on yet? He usually comes on around 4. It's 4:01 where I am. So I'm going to check him really quick and see if he's on. Because if he is, this is going to be fun. You said that you can choose to be happy in depression. That is not true, and you can't choose gayness. Okay, I'm sorry, but two different issues. Gayness has been proven to be a choice. I'm sorry, it is completely a choice. Now, your temptations aren't a choice, but you're acting out of it? Yeah, that's completely a choice. And you can change what you're tempted in and what you're not tempted in. When you give in to one temptation, the temptations get larger, and you feel like you have to fill this gap of gayness, which isn't really true. And, you know, I mean, science disagrees with you. I'm sorry, but you're not born that way, so it's obviously a choice. And I'm not saying it's an easy choice like flipping on a light switch. For some people, it's not easy. But it's still a choice. So I'm freaking 28, and I couldn't have asked a better question. Debatable choice. Yeah. On depression, it depends. Most people's depression is uncaused. A lot of people describe their depression as not really being caused. Yeah, and they don't produce offspring. That would be considered a disorder. Whenever people compare, you know, and first of all, we aren't animals. So if you find something in one species, that's like saying whales can swim, and they can dive down to, you know, 4 miles deep in the ocean. So we can too. I don't think that's a very good argument. And by the way, the animals that are gay, that would be a mental problem. They can't have kids anymore. That's a problem. They have the tools to have kids for sure. They have them, but they aren't having them. So it's clearly a problem. And it's been found to be a choice as well. Environmentally, it's been shown with mice that it could even be a choice with mice environmentally on what they're used to. It's a very interesting thing. And I'll send a link because I know some of you guys are really going to want to look that stuff up. So I'm going to get you a link to that. Let me see. I try to link as many things as I can without missing any comments. Because a lot of times when I'm looking up things, people be like, you missed my question! Science, technology, philosophy... Where is it? There it goes. I'm trying to find my YouTube channel. I'm on my phone, so links don't work. Yeah, that's the only problem with the phones. If you don't class yourself as an animal, what are we? We're people. The animals, see, in a biblical worldview, animals were created full. Similar to like grass are created, you know, for people. In a biblical worldview. Now, I will agree, in an evolutionist worldview, you're an animal. But clearly people have some standards where they say, no, I'm not going to follow that logically to its conclusion. When I believed in evolution, I said, if I'm going to follow this logically to my conclusion, the only reason we are here is because of the violent rape and subjugation of our ancestors. So if we want to progress, should I do that? And then I ask the question, well, yeah, that's true, but why would I want to progress? We're a mistake. Who cares? I'm worthless. There's no point to any of it. So in the evolutionist worldview, I ran into a big problem. We're mammals, though. Well, sure. You know, there are definitely similarities. But I don't agree that we are animals. Humans had a tailbone proved that. No. The tailbone, or the coccyx bone, is what you are referring to. What you're using is the vestigial bone argument, the vestigial, whatever they want to call it, body part. And the problem is that there are multiple muscles and ligaments that to your coccyx bone, your tailbone, that you need to have. It is not a vestigial organ or something like that. And same thing with the whale. Looks like someone's talking about the whale. A whale is a mammal, so why aren't we an animal like whales? I mean, it's a good question. I believe we were made independent. And here's the reason why. Is because there are a lot of symbolic connections between animals. For example, and I'm not talking about being relatives, I'm talking about, for example, the termite has a little critter in its stomach. And you can look this up. The termite has a critter in its stomach that helps it digest the wood. The termite cannot digest the wood on its own. It needs the little critter inside to digest it, and then it craps out, the feces or whatever. And that's what the termite actually digests. It's a really interesting process. So can the little critter live without the termite? No. Can the termite live without the little critter? No. They are symbolically needed for one another. Same thing with flowers and bees. If there's no flowers, the bees can't pollinate. If the flowers aren't here and the bees can't pollinate, they don't make honey, and they die. And if there are flowers but no bees, the flowers don't get pollinated and they die. I think all the animals had to be here within at least, a couple of days. Otherwise, a lot of plants would start to die. And we wouldn't have any of the plants we have today unless there's some really big, creation event with a very short period of time. What's a whale in your terms do you believe they are? They're fish, they swim in the ocean. I mean, I'm not a biologist, so I'm not going to be like, oh, it's this species of this brand. But in general, I'd say it's a fish. Yeah, I mean, in general, it's an animal. Though because if you have a soul, you're very separate from, people are what's unique versus bugs, animals, trees, dirt, rocks. So we have a soul. And that's actually been proven, because what happens, not necessarily with ESP, I talked a little bit about ESP earlier, but with near-death experiences, not where you go to heaven or hell, there are a lot of those, but where they die and then they go to another room while they're dead. They talk about leaving their body, going to another room and report things, and then when they wake up, they're like, hey, I was dead for a little bit, but something just happened in that room, and I can tell you what it was. And if it's on a security camera, you can prove it. And they're just like, how did you know that? You were here. You weren't there. So basically what that would do, it proves that definitely human consciousness is not limited to a body. Body is more like a USB drive that can move information from one place to another. Our consciousness is more like a soul. It's on its own, independent of us. And it can leave us. It's been proven several times. So yeah, but then nobody reported going to hell. Well, lots of people have reported going to hell. Lots of people have reported going to heaven. But here's the thing. I can't go to hell and report you were there. Unless I died. When you report things on earth, I can test that. When you go to heaven, I can't test that. So a lot of times they'll say that a lot of times what happens is the longer they're dead for, the more deep the experience gets. And there's a guy named Dr. Gary Habermas. He's an expert on this. And he doesn't talk about the Bible too much. I wish he did more. He's a Christian. But basically, he just shows the scientific studies on near-death experiences. And basically, the more deep, the longer you're out, the weirder things start to get. First you see people moving around, and you'll be in your room or something like that, and then you literally float through the ceiling, and it's documented, because, they can talk about what's on the second floor and the third floor, and they can see the security recordings. They can prove you actually did float through the ceiling. And then they talk about flying through an airplane. They go up higher and higher. And then they say, and then I was in this really dark place where there was either a white light and an intense feeling of love, or a red dark light and an intense feeling of oppression. Those are the two most common, which is very interesting because these are only true for the biblical worldview. The Quran does not talk like that. Egyptian myths don't talk like that. Hinduism doesn't talk about that. It's very specific to the biblical worldview. So what we find in the reports we get, the stories are so cool. But they're stories. We can document that. We can document that there's an afterlife for sure, because, they go to another room and they can report that kind of thing. And they talk about really cool stories after that, where they talk about floating up to heaven and those kinds of things. But it can't be documented. That's where the faith comes in. It's very cool. Dr. Gary Habermas talks more on that. But, geez, philosophy and theology. I know, it's really cool. What religion are we myth-busting? I'm against all religions, except, I would say Christianity is separate from a religion because it's a lifestyle. Religions are always trying to, give you, I guess you could say, a set of rules you have to abide by in order to make a society that only apply to one place. For example, Islam only works for desert traders. Try Islam in the United States, you end up with 9/11 attacks. It doesn't work out so well. If you try it in Europe, you end up with a crusade coming back and retaliating. It doesn't really work outside of the Middle East for the Islamic worldview. Same with Hinduism and Buddhism. They only work for their cultures. Christianity is universal, though. It really applies to everybody, and it answers all the fundamental questions we have about theology. Now, if you want to talk about the evidence for it, not just the fact that it answers all the questions you would expect a book actually written by God to answer, but if you want the actual evidence for it, there's what's it called? Gary Habermas is also an expert on New Testament studies, and he's done a debate with lots of atheists, including New Testament scholar atheists like Bart Ehrman. So he's debating the leading people on both sides of this issue. So he can really make a very strong case for the evidence of the Bible. I went to a broadcast and accidentally gave a canon. What? Why did you give me a canon? My fans are so mean to me. I'm kidding. But let's see. Evolution is a big myth, though. I mean, a big myth. It takes a leap of mathematical logic out the window. I mean, when I was an atheist, just the amount of faith it took for me to believe it, and I could really feel the faith required. I was having to think really hard to accept the idea that I came from an animal. And the only reason I believed it is because scientists, they're always talking about it. Turns out not all scientists agree on this issue, and I've seen a lot of debates between the leading scientists on this issue, like Michael Shermer, Richard Dawkins. They don't really win the creation-evolution debate, from what I've seen. So you are atheist? No, I'm strong theist. Evolution isn't always faith-based, but we weren't around during the dinosaurs. I disagree. I think we were around during the dinosaurs. I mean, you and me weren't, but the same way we can know Abraham Lincoln died, there's just as much strong evidence that people saw dinosaurs. There are murals. For example, there's these things called the Ica jars in Ica, Peru. And you might know where that is from the big spider drawings they make in the dirt. A lot of people think people back then were stupid. They weren't. The big drawing of the spider that they made in Peru had one leg that was a little longer than all the rest of the spider legs, and it could only be seen from an airplane. They thought they were making it for the gods. And what's so interesting is a lot of people said, they were stupid, see, because they made one of the legs wrong. Their measurements were wrong. Now, the problem with that, you're talking hieroglyphics now. Yeah. But basically, people are going to think I'm an expert in every field of science by the end of this. I'm not an expert in every field of science. I will be once I'm 20, I will be. But I'm still studying that. But basically, what they discovered was one of the legs of the spider that was in the dirt was a little longer. And they said they're stupid. But it turns out they discovered just a couple, I think 2 decades ago. In the 80s or something. That's more like 4 decades ago, actually. But it was a little while ago. They discovered, 80s was a little while ago. But they discovered that there's actually a spider in Ica, Peru. Tiny, hard. You can't see it without a microscope. It's like a chigger. If any of you guys have had a chigger, it burrows in your skin and it's hard to see and it just itches and you have to put nail polish to get it out. It's like the size of a chigger. And what they find is that this little spider the size of a chigger, small, one leg that gets a little longer than all the rest when it's time for it to mate. These guys weren't stupid. They were very smart people. Some of the Ica stones that they have from Ica, Peru, show them doing brain surgery. I mean, very interesting stuff. Same things with hieroglyphics in Egypt. They have, it shows them making batteries. Like, they show a jar and it talks about the materials and where they got them from. They're like, we got this material, this pipe that you put in the middle, and then the spring that goes around it, and then you pour the lead on top of this. And it's like, they're making a battery. What were they talking about? And Tesla made his first, what's it called? I think it was a electric transformer. He built an electric transformer in his yard that could conduct electricity. The first one he made was based off of a blueprint of the Great Pyramid and its catacombs. A lot of people think the Great Pyramid was a electricity generator, not a tomb. So it's a really interesting study. I don't know much more than that. It's another rabbit trail, and I've watched a few documentaries, but I'm certainly not the Egyptologist. But it's just really neat stuff. These people weren't stupid. But the point is, everywhere in the world where you have these ancient cultures, Native Americans, Hawaii, South America, Africa, even in Africa, they have drawings of brachiosauruses and sauropods and those kinds of things. They find drawings of dinosaurs. We have one of a triceratops, an Ica stone, with a drawing of a triceratops with a guy riding on top of it. And the funny thing is they got the scales right. They drew the scales on it. A couple of years ago, they found a scale to a triceratops, and they discovered it has the same pattern on it as the one in the picture. It had a spiral pattern and then another spiral pattern, another one. It had the same thing. How would they have known that? Maybe they saw it. It had the same number of horns, and some people were like, it's mythical coincidence. And Carl Sagan saw this, and he said, this is a big problem for evolution, because how could these people have seen this? If evolution's true, they couldn't have seen this. So how did they see it? So this is what Carl Sagan actually did. You can look this up. Carl Sagan said Well, we evolved from dinosaurs, so maybe a part of our brain is left behind from the dinosaurs, and that's how we imagined up all these animals. Are you kidding? That's like, and scientists were just like, Sagan, you've taken leaps of faith before, but this is madness. This is a fairy tale. But it was the only response they could give. So, there's a big problem. And some people say, oh, they were digging up dinosaurs. It's like, I'm sorry, but there's no historical documentation of people digging up dinosaurs until just about 200-300 years ago. So, let's see. The or I think you mean Triceratops, was one of the later dinosaurs. We did this in geography because of the Earth's development at the time. Well, they see all sorts of things. They've even seen, what's it called? They're like bats. I'm failing on the name. The dinosaur birds, what are they called? They aren't birds. They have bat wings. You guys can help me out on this one. This proves I'm not an expert. Whenever people say I'm an expert, I feel like I isolate them. I don't want to isolate anyone. But, what's it? Pterodactyls, that's what they're called. Pterodactyls. In Africa, there are a lot of villages that have stories and drawings of pterodactyls. And they show the bones to people who visited during the 18 and 1900s, and some even now. There's an interesting study on that. I think it was Dr. Kent Hovind has a lot of information on that. You make me feel like a fish out of water. Well, just imagine what I'm going to be like when I'm 20 or 30. Scary. Let's see. 243 million years ago, there was the named Nyasaurus paringantani. I'm not a what's it called, paleontologist, so I'm not sure on the names. Left, I am going to take a shot in the dark and say you are on the right side. I am on the right side. I fly an American flag. Of course I'm I'm not stepping on it. I'm not burning it. You can tell because I have an American flag. It's so funny. I was driving through California and I said, Mom, I want to do a test. Every house there's an American flag. I'm going to ask them if they're a Republican. And I bet the majority of people with American flags in their yard are Republicans. I never got to do that test, but I still think I never got to do it, but I think that would be a good test to do, and I don't doubt it either. I'm in Tennessee right now. Every house has an American flag, and about every other house has a Stars and Bars flag. I mean, it's a wonderful place. They aren't racist either. When I was driving through Mississippi, I took a picture in front of the Mississippi flag, which has the rebel flag in the corner. One of my black friends, all my friends are black, by the way, that I meet in person. From California. I'm in Tennessee now. But he messaged me. He's like, dude, I didn't know you were a racist. I was like, no. The rebel flag's not racist. And I sent him the wiki page and showed him it's not. I didn't mean... The Stars and Bars... I'm not sure whether that's... I'm pretty sure that's referring to the rebel flag, not the actual Confederate flag. I'm not referring to the actual Confederate flag. Referring to the rebel flag. Hope I didn't screw that up. But basically, are you straight? Yes, I am straight. Let's see. There's 3 shares, 56 likes, and we've been streaming for almost an hour. So I might wrap this up in a little bit. If I get some new fans, I will totally stay on. It isn't too late either. I want to see if Talking Head's is on yet. Maybe he'll go into hiding. Maybe he doesn't want to stream again. I wouldn't want to stream again if I was him. Here. My computer's so slow whenever I open up 2 tabs, because I'm using a laptop right now. Okay, let me share my screen here. So this is his page right now. He's not live, but it says right here, this kid Tazkin Noah says, Bill, we're turning even stronger. What's so funny to me is that this kid Tazkin Noah, we have recordings of him on Dan Bozen's account, where he says he doesn't side with Talking Head. He says, I'm not a socialist. And then as soon as Talking Head returns, oh, he's a socialist. The reason why is because they're so... The real socialists on YouNow are really weak people. In general, if you're a strong person, you pick capitalism. Because it's an honest way to work. You want that feeling of accomplishment and conquest. You get that from being and taking a handout. So, Tazkin Noah, of course he sides with him now. He felt scared, but now he feels like he has a daddy who can take care of him on YouNow, and, there he is. I like Ben Shapiro's facts. I don't agree completely with his opinions on Trump, though. I'd rather have Bannon. I like Bannon a lot. Out of everyone that could run for president, I think Bannon or Pence. Because I don't know if Pence is a doer. I read a little bit about his Indiana job as a governor, and I think he could be a great president. But I think that Bannon is, there's a special thing to Bannon that makes him sweet that I really like. Just the way he handles things. Bannon would be better than Pence, I reckon. I think I have to agree with that. Who are you to argue someone's sexuality when you're not old enough to... How old do you think I am? I want to keep this on the record. You are saying there's an age limit to when you're old enough to start having sex. Because I haven't had sex. But everyone my age in California has. They think it's fine. I read somewhere it's like the average age you lose your virginity in California was 14. It's like that was a couple years ago, I think. And so it's not too great. I only left for president 2020. I can't run in 2020. 2036 is the year I'm running. And I'm going to tell you guys a poll right now that I know no matter what you are, you're going to love this. Unless you're a socialist, you're going to hate this. But you're going to love this. Outlawry. Outlawry is this idea that I have for how law should be done that would apply nationwide. It's not authoritarian. It puts the people in charge of the law like never before. And just listen, you're going to love it. So basically what the idea of outlawry is that if you break the law, you don't go to jail. You pay a fine. And the fines are very expensive. If you break the law, you have to pay a very expensive fine depending on what the crime is. If you're caught without a seatbelt, you'd pay a $50 speeding fine. If you kill someone, maybe a $30 million settlement. Something really expensive. And here's why. It's because there's two options. If they can't pay it off, they can either take out a loan. They can take out a loan from a bank and give it to the guy. Or they can choose outlawry. The judge has the option to give them outlawry. What's outlawry, you ask? Outlawry would make them an outlaw. Okay, you don't want to abide by the law? You don't get protected by the law either. So now what happens is you lose all your citizenship rights. You lose everything. You don't have any rights anymore. How long are you going to be able to keep your life or your house or your car when you're an outlaw? Well, the court will put pieces of paper all around, flyers all over the place telling people you're an outlaw. So now people are going to try to shoot you. Bounty hunters will get hired to do this. You're not a citizen. You don't have your rights anymore because you're outside of the law, so the law doesn't protect you. So what could happen is these people could be taken as slaves and they'd have to work, whatever. The point being, they wouldn't want you to, the crime rate would drop dramatically because the amount of money they'd have to pay in fines would be so high for the serious crimes that they know it's basically a death sentence the second they decide that the second they commit any sort of serious crime like a break-in or a robbery. If you can't pay the fine of a couple $100,000, you're really screwed. The Wild West come back in 2030. Let's do it. It'll be wonderful. It worked back then and it can work now. Crime now, is actually worse than it was back then. Sure, because you compare mobs in Chicago and San Diego and Florida to back then in the West. Are you kidding? Life was better back then. And here's the best part. The argument over whether the death penalty is okay or not suddenly disappears. Because guess what? No one has to do the death. No one has to put on a ballot, I'm for or against the death penalty. And at the same time, you can still have the peace through strength method applied because of outlawry. We need to bring this back, and I want to do it. Now, I don't think anyone else will do it, mainly because I read there's like 1 in 2 judges in America have investments in the prison industry. So what's going to happen is that they're going to not like this at all. They're going to start getting lobbyists to try to shut me down, or anyone else who does try to mention outlawry. And it'll have to be made into an amendment of sorts in order for it to work actually nationwide. Now, or they'll leave the country. They'll leave the country, and they'll never come back. So criminals will either carry out the crime and leave the country and never try to return, or they go back. And here's the other thing, is that if you talk to other governments and tell them these are the criminals, these are who they are, these are the outlaws, tell the other governments who the outlaws are too. Next thing you know, if someone hires a bounty hunter, they can go out of country. They can go to other countries. It's not my problem anymore. They can go to other countries and do whatever the heck they want to do. So I think this is a wonderful way for law to work. I think crime will drop dramatically. And I think it will work out better than the whole argument that everyone should be armed. Because I agree, everyone should be armed. Crime drops where everyone's armed. But this is both will bring out the same results. One method, however, outlawry, will work a lot faster with a lot less gridlock from the left, depending on how the left is in 2036, if it still exists. Right now, it looks like the left is crumbling, absolutely crumbling. They're losing every election. I mean, they're just a mess. And then you have Bernie Sanders starting his party now for socialism. I mean, man, if I run against a socialist, it's going to be World War III. I mean, it'll be a mess. I mean, socialism is just such a nasty thing. And America isn't socialist. We fight socialism. We fight communism. We fight authoritarianism. We do not need to elect socialists here. And I feel like it needs to be a law that if you're a socialist, you can't run for president. Because socialist ideology is evil. It is utterly evil. So, yeah. True, and we don't have to pay tons of money for those people to sit. Exactly! Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to do redistribution or if we just tax less. I'd prefer to just tax less. That's what I prefer. Tax as little as possible. The countries where you tax less prosper the most, and you end up with stronger economies. Countries where you begin to tax people fail miserably. So, as little amount of taxes as possible. Make it the people's nation. So, that's what I'm planning to do. Maybe that should be my slogan. Bring back the Wild West, 2036. Maybe that's what I'll do. Make America Western again. You've watched George Carlin, haven't you? I've never heard of him, actually. Let's see. And by the way, guys, like up the stream if you're liking what I'm saying. I have a sore throat right now, so I might have to go take a little break here. He's a good comedian. I'll have to check him out sometime. Let's see. I might get a little annoyed. I don't know. It's really hard to win me. But he makes you think. Okay. Tax less and get rid of stupid laws like the seatbelt laws. Yeah, I mean, on seatbelts, it makes sense why the laws are there. Because it's to protect other people. But ultimately, that law should be left up to the state. Leave it up to the states to decide about the seatbelt laws. That kind of thing. I think that's how it is now. I'm not sure. I haven't really studied it too much. How can I contact you? Instagram. My Instagram account is in my bio section if you can follow me and that thing, and that's the best way to contact me. So let's see. Looks like I just got a notification right now, actually. Yeah. Yeah, I did. Okay. So, what's it called? And by the way, I'm not sure if this person's watching the live stream right now, but a couple days ago, this person made this Instagram post, almost like an article, just talking about my live stream and my stuff, and she's explaining why she likes it so much. It's the greatest thing. It's so cool. It shouldn't even be a law. I should have the choice if I want to wear my seatbelt, not the government. Well, here's the problem is, what about other citizens? I mean, if you don't wear your seatbelt, I suppose I'm thinking of drunken driving, so I'm thinking about that. If you don't wear your seatbelt, yeah. Ultimately, I see what what your point is. I haven't studied it that much, so I'll listen to you here. But you say you like debating people, but you don't read all of their comments. You've just ignored mine. What comment? People say I ignore their comments all the time, and at the end of the day, they never posted a comment. So please tell me what I'm ignoring. What if you hit the brakes and you hit the wheel, then something happens? I mean, if you're not going to buckle your seatbelt, yeah, well, you're dead. There you go. There's a reason there are seatbelts, but I think that at the end of the day, a lot of it has been used as an excuse to get money, you take a ticket and that kind of thing. My grandma, she got a $300 ticket for being caught without her seatbelt on, so. Who are you to argue someone's sexuality when you're not old enough to have... I've already answered this question, but it's a victimless crime. If I fly out of my window, it's my fault. I love how these... Yeah. Yeah, I see your point, Jay. I don't side with anyone until I formulated a really strong opinion, so I'm going to put that in my list of things to do, but I have to form really strong opinions because everything, even little things that I talk about, I always get attacked on. Like, for example, should pet shops be considered brothels by the LGBT community because of bestiality? Some people want that to be okay, especially in Los Angeles right now. Well, he's like, how do we decide? And they're like, no, no, no. And they get these huge debates. So oftentimes in the chat, I just sit back and watch. And they're just arguing over bestiality. I'm just like, such a joke. Such a joke. LGBT is just such an unnecessary debate right now, too. I mean, the only reason it's an issue now is because we should make the government, you know, address this group as a marriage. And that's a big problem. Because a lot of people would rightly say, with scientific backing, that, yeah, being homosexual, being this way is a life choice. It's scientifically proven it's a choice. That leads to many side effects, including abuse, worse than alcoholism. And, I mean, just the violence in these couples, statistically speaking, isn't good at all, especially in transgender. So why would the government address this group and play with them and be like, oh, it's okay, it's okay. You know, if I had a mental disability like bipolar, and I thought that the radio was talking to me, I would not be helping anyone to tell myself, yeah, the radio is talking. You know, it wouldn't help. So we have to deal with the issue and address the issue. But the problem is people don't want to, because at the end of the day, people want to follow sin. And even if it's the worst option and they know it, they want to follow sin. Because they say, oh, I have to have some freedom, even if listening to someone else is a better idea. But, you know, that's just how it goes. Now I think kids under the age 16 should have to be required, because they're not old enough to understand and make the choice. Required? Now I think kids under the age of 16 should have to be required, because they're not old enough to understand and make the choice. Oh, seatbelts. Yeah. Say 15 miles an hour is a pain speed to crash with a seatbelt. I drove a car the other day. That was speaking of cars, but yeah. Getting in a wreck at 5 miles an hour can give you whiplash if your head's in the wrong angle. Scientifically proven such a way is a choice. Nonsense. I will get it for you, actually, sir. Let's see here, 1 second. Let me get it up. Get this up. For some reason my Google isn't working. It's using Yahoo, and I'm not used to using Yahoo. Let's see here. Okay, it's loading. Let me get the link up. Okay. See the comments here while it's loading. Like up the stream, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Let's see. And I assume Social Security and Medicare are bad ideas. Yeah, I mean, the whole reason behind the Great Depression in the 1930s was to get people to have a social security number. It's the first step towards a new world order. And we know this stuff now. These documents are released. You know, the Illuminati isn't some conspiracy. It's very real. And a lot of it isn't hidden. It's easy to find. So you're saying being bisexual is a choice. Are you? I used to be. I mean, I used to think I was. I mean, I had the temptation, but I never acted out on it. And I just prayed that the temptation would leave. And it did. And the main reason is if you don't want it to leave, if you like the temptation, if you like the lifestyle, then you're going to start having problems. It's frozen, so. But basically, if you like the lifestyle, it's not going to leave you because you like it. I had to tell myself to hate the lifestyle because I knew it was bad for me and not natural. And so I did that and it left. So reasons behind Great Depression to get people social security numbers, complete nonsense. There are a lot of books written actually showing that this is accurate. You need to really take a look at that. Let me get it for you. Okay, let me get you the link here. This is the first link. Commands. Okay. Books contain facts, actually. You use textbooks in school, so I guess you can't trust those because they're, you know, paper. I do guess people, but there's no one in my guest queue right now. Okay, so there's a link to the first video. It cites quite a few different studies that show homosexuality is not a choice. It is a choice. It's not something you're born with. Just me. You're welcome again. I guess you. Some books contain facts. Well, the books I'd like to cite for you do. So. I read the book a really long time ago, so I hope I can remember it. Social Security. Alright. Alright. I don't know why it's skipping so much. Every time I start searching up stuff, it slows down. James, how did you make your background and profile picture? A couple of different ways. I could show you. I made it 4 months ago, so... the first way I made it was I took a picture just like this one. Just perfectly normal picture, nothing, no green screen, just perfectly normal picture. And then what I did is I used a software called Preview. And what I did is I messed around with the contrast. And I just messed around with the contrast back and forth until all the shadows were completely gone. And once the shadows were completely gone, I was able to drag it into a software, tint everything green, and what you had was just all these green spots and all these black spots. And the black spots were what you see in my picture. And basically what happened from that was I was able to use it like a green screen, and I was able to put it in iMovie, put it over a green screen. I used a lot of redneck methods, but I put it in a green screen, put the red background in instead of a green, and there you go, and I took a screenshot, and it's up there. I could do a live stream explaining how to photo shop and that kind of thing if you're interested. Let's see here. Plus, the Fed Reserve is the worst unconstitutional. The Federal Reserve is probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest enemy to America. I mean, it is just evil, utterly evil. At any minute, it could strike. It's a big problem. It does. It cites, I think, 3 sources, at least 2 sources, and they are sources. They are studies that were done by LGBT community members. So, Pachikin, you can't just pass this up. Let's see, it's Steve said that would be something I would take part in for sure. James, how did you make? Yeah. So maybe I will do a broadcast. I don't know if you wanted me to do it now. That's a different thing, and I don't think too many of my fans want to know how to do that. But I could do it. We need a dictator to save us? We don't need a dictator to save us. We need leadership. What do you think? Well, pride and love are 2 different things. Being proud, you know, that's being proud. It's feeling accomplishment. It's a feeling of control, and it's a sense of conquest. It's just power. Being proud is accepting the fact and the realization that you have power over something. You're proud of something. It's a contrast statement. And then love is where you show affection towards someone without the hope of something in return. That's love. So let's see. I'm in the guest queue. Okay. I have 2% power. So 1 second. Here's what I'm going to do. Is it loading or is it frozen? I have 2% power, so I'm going to get my cord and I will bring you right back on, okay? I'll be right back. Okay. Let me see. Hopefully this charger should work. I think this charger is broken. It's all plasticed up. Don't want to shock myself. This one's dead. My brother has a second one, so I'm gonna go get that one. Sorry for the wait. Okay. It's a wonderful thing having an outlet right next to where you're sitting in your office. Okay, now it's ready. It's at 1% power, so this thing better start charging. Okay. Are you the youngest in your family? No, I'm the oldest, actually. The oldest sibling. I'm not older than my dad. It's not charging. What's the deal? It's plugged in. There it goes. Finally, it was at 1%. I'm so glad it's charging now. I'm going to show you guys my screen so you know I'm not kidding. This is just so... It was really close to crashing there for a second. You can see right up in the upper hand corner here. Yeah, you can see right up here, it's like 1%, and it's finally charging. So glad that worked. It didn't lose all the likes. To actually fix all our problems, we need to get rid of the presidential terms and someone that is smart enough to fix things. I don't know what you mean by presidential terms. I think presidential terms are wonderful. Because it allows a guy who the people think represents them best to make decisions. And the Founding Fathers thought it was best. And I'm willing to hear another opinion, but the reason our country has survived so long is not because of presidential issues or government. The problem is not in government. The problem is the people and how they're treating the government and what they know about the government. What you see is that in the 1990s, people got really lazy when it came to politics. And the people from the 1990s mainly. And not everyone, but a lot of people did. And they were unfortunately spoiled by their parents who were conservatives. I've seen this a lot with my uncles, and they're full-out conservatives. They were in the military, and their kids are spoiled brats who are all socialists, and they still live with their parents because they've been spoiled. And they don't want to spend the time to read a history book about what happens when you aren't educated as a people. John Adams said that if unless there is a moral and religious people who are educated about the government, the democracy would fail. The republic would fail in general. Not so much democracy. The democracy is a tool, not really an ideology. But basically, the presidency will be great so long as the people are educated. And so long as the people have their amendments and their guns. And we don't really need so much guns now as we do need chemical weapons. I mean, the Second Amendment was for us to bear arms. It wasn't against the government. It wasn't meant for duck hunting. So what we need, so this right was given to us so that we could fight the government back if they ever try to be a tyranny. That's what it's written for. So if I don't think a gun would really stop a government takeover. That wouldn't really do anything. Even if everyone was armed, I don't think it would do anything. Now, in the 1950s, sure. Now, no. What we need now, people are, and I have people here in Tennessee who are telling me, it's like, son, I didn't spend money on guns before Hillary won the presidency because you know, her policies were really communist. She was authoritarian. She wanted to take over the country and take away guns. So basically, they're saying, I am stocking up on chemical weapons to poison water lines to, you know, whatever. And a lot are saying, I want to buy fighter jets in my backyard and that kind of thing. And I'm like, wow, that is interesting. So the South is definitely focused on this issue right now. We need to pull out other countries and cut welfare programs and military spending and pay the Fed back. Who said that democracy will fail? Not democracy. Basically, he was saying the country won't work in favor of the people unless the people are holding the reins to the government. The second that socialism comes in, people let go of the reins of the government, and the government's a wild dog now that's out to kill us. I mean, that's really what's for. And whether it moves out, and whether it does it fast or slow, usually slowly when you don't really notice it too much. The South will rise again, but who said that? My quote or the South will rise again? Because I was quoting John Adams before. You want to debate? That's wonderful. Jay, military is vital to what's... Yeah, military is really a defense position. Now, I mean, I'm not an expert on military. I'm going to tell you that right away now. Because I've thought, maybe what we should have here is we should have the people all be the military. In general, someone attacks the land, you better get ready for the people to strike back with an iron fist. So, but I'm not an expert on that, so I'll let you guys talk about, your little theories on that kind of thing. People come in here and they discuss their theories on how government should work, and it's fun to listen to. That's why during the Obama administration, we were being attacked so often. I mean, Obama used our military, but he used it to start fights. He used it to try to cause bigger problems so that he could justify more spending. The whole idea behind Hillary starting a World War III with Syria and Russia, because all of us Trump supporters knew that was coming. We all knew that was coming if Hillary had won. But here's what happened instead, is that she didn't win. And because of that, the debt's still here. She was planning to use off the debt, because that's really the only way she could do it. And she was hoping that would all work out somehow. Well, she didn't win. So now Trump is lowering the debt, and I think if it continues this way, it will be gone. It will take time, but it will be gone. So, okay, well, Socrates thought democracy was a bad idea for what John Adams said. Socrates. Bad idea for what John Adams said. I'm not quite sure what you're referring to. Again, when we were attacked during the Obama administration. We were attacked quite a bit with terror attacks. A lot of terror attacks that happened. So, Apache, Syria attacked our allies because we weren't funding them as much through our military. I mean, look at Israel. I mean, I am a Israel backer. I wasn't always for Israel, even though I was a Republican, because I have a lot of Muslim friends, and I said maybe the Palestinians are right. Maybe they did steal this land, but that's not really true. Israel has always belonged to the Israelis, and Palestine never had control. They made a deal to have Palestine have some of the land to try to have a peace treaty. But the thing about Islam is that Islam does not want any peace treaty. Islam wants to take over the world. So we have to realize that countries where they practice Sharia law, countries where they do these kinds of things, are going to have to either side with radicalism or completely leave behind this conservative Islam. They're going to have to reform it. And I don't know how you could reform Islam without making a heresy from Islam. But either way, it's going to be a mess, and I think it's going to be getting worse because the truth is that people aren't cooperating with the president. They're making such a big mess. There's so much gridlock. They aren't cooperating. We just saw in England, what was it? Almost every day of the week, they were having terrorist attacks happen. The main reason why was because they didn't have this immigration ban in place, and Trump's like, see, this could have been us. We need to have an immigration ban in place. And they're like, oh, but it will hurt their feelings. What feelings? I don't care if it hurts their feelings. They're the enemy. They are here to kill us. We happily let them in. We tried being nice. We tried pacifism. It didn't work. So we need to try to protect ourselves. This isn't violence towards them. This is protection, self-defense. Syria holds a high amount of radical Muslims, and they attacked the U.S. Syria holds tons of radical Muslims. And so does Libya, so does Pakistan, all these places, almost every country in the Middle East, and even some countries outside of the Middle East now, have ISIS strongholds. It's crazy. When the movie 13 Hours came out, at the end, there was this very hard statement that said ISIS is now a stronghold in Libya. The U.S., the Obama administration, failed miserably in the Middle East. We should never gone in. I don't know why we decided to continue the same thing. Obama, I don't like Bush too much, but, Obama, you could have solved this. You didn't, because you're Obama. If Obama was a white president, he would be the most hated president of all time right now. And openly on the news, they would talk about it, because Obama did such a bad thing to our country. With the debt, it's just complete. It's awful. The debt's so high. I think I saw this poster. They were like, if you were to stack in $1 million bills on top of one another, the tower for our debt would go above the Sears Tower. It's a mess. So you should make a Facebook if you hadn't. That's the Instagram for adults, and I think debating with adults would be an encouraging challenge for you. I've debated with a few adults. They banned me. And their kids came at one of my uncles. He's a liberal. He's from Virginia. He came onto my Instagram and he was saying, you can't support Trump because you're going to hurt your relationship with your Muslim friends. Because I have a bunch of Muslim friends. And I'm just like, won't. You take a look at how they treat our country and how they make fun of our politics. It's okay. We aren't politically correct. That's one thing I like about Muslims in the Middle East is there's no political correctness. None of it. I don't agree with their ideology, but there's no political correctness. And because of that, there isn't any gridlock. The only place there's gridlock is in Saudi Arabia, where they're like, well, maybe we're nice, maybe we're offensive, maybe we're trying to come help the United States. Overall, the King of Saudi Arabia is just trying not to get blown up by Trump because he's seen what happens to countries that mess with other countries that Trump likes. And, Trump's not afraid to send 60 Tomahawk missiles at Saudi Arabia if they decide to make a move towards the dark side. And I think that's really great. I think what Trump's done is great. And I will look into starting on Facebook. The main reason I don't use it is most people on Facebook I've had debates with. Like, everyone I know on Facebook has defriended me. Almost everyone. And that's on my private account. It's not really a debate thing. But I might try it out. We'll see. So let's see. Hate Steve, Apache. If you truly believe the Syrian government didn't use propaganda to bring up terror attacks, then you are insane. Yeah, I mean, the main reason people don't know what's going on in the Middle East is because the only people talking about it is right-wing media. That's really the only people talking about it. And, I've watched the Young Turks talk about terrorist attacks, and it's like the biggest fail at trying to do from a journalist standpoint, the Young Turks fails miserably when trying to describe terror attacks. A terror attack happens, and they're like, oh, this happened because America did an immigration ban. And I'm just like, no! It didn't happen. How does that... What? I mean, they always make it the blame of us. It's never the blame of the people who blew it up. Breitbart, InfoWars, and Fox. Those guys are amazing. Fox is actually starting to get on the ball and realize maybe we should, unleash Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson, since the election, has been amazing. Loved watching him. I love Breitbart. I mean, Bannon and InfoWars. I mean, and Alex Jones. Who can beat Alex Jones? He's the greatest thing ever. Sure, he's got a temper, but he's right. And I love watching. One of my friends was like, you can't support Alex Jones because liberals will make fun of you. And I was like, take a look at Hillary. They're all supporting her. Let's get into a debate about facts. But they don't want to do that because you're not talking to people with the same mental ideology. You're talking to a group of people who want one thing, and that is free stuff. Free stuff. And they don't care if they have... And here's what they do to pay up for the free stuff, because they know they're lazy people. They know they are on these handouts. They know they're lazy people. And then what they have to do is they have to say, well, we have to support something. We have to, like the Republicans. They want honest jobs. They want to end abortions, which kill babies. And then you got the lazy Democrats. What are we going to do? And Hillary's like, oh, don't worry. We'll let the refugees in. And that makes us virtue signaling gods. We're these wonderful people. And I'm just like, that's ridiculous. And it's like, that backfired. I mean, the terrorist attacks that happened because of the immigration, Muslims in this country, backfired. I mean, that was a mistake. And the Democrats know it. They really do. I'm talking it on YouNow. If he comes on, I really want to talk to him about it, but he banned me, so I can't guest with him. So I'll need some of you guys to take up the throne, I guess you could say, or torch, or whatever. And why a throne? Guess you sit in the throne, But the Free Money Club, got to love them, right? InfoWars has been going around my town and putting their stickers up on signs around there. Where do you live? Are you in Austin, Texas? I've never gotten to meet an InfoWars staff member. I really want to. I drove through Waco, Texas a couple days ago. Megyn Kelly embarrassed herself. Don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, Megyn Kelly was such a joke on that TV show. InfoWars smashed her. I don't know whose side Megyn Kelly's on, but she's not. She's becoming more and more infamous. People in the media industry are starting to realize Trump's president now. Sure, the majority of Americans support him, but they don't use the internet. But whenever people make attacks against the president that are just plain stupid, like making fun of Barron and, holding head of Donald Trump, idiot Kathy Griffin, and her career has been demolished because of that. You can't attack the people. And, the fact is I've just come to realize the media is stupid. They are really stupid people. CNN is a communist news network, and, I'm just going to have to live with it for a little while. The good news is no one really watches them. Compared to Tucker Carlson, Anderson Cooper is crawling on the floor to get the views. So, the majority of Americans completely support Trump. Apache, you need to listen to WikiLeaks more. If you listen to them, you'll understand that there are roughly 3 million illegals registered. 3 million dead people were registered for the 2016 election. 3 million dead people. Dead. Were registered for the election. How... You know, it certainly wasn't someone being honest. Obviously, there's some fraud going on. It wasn't Russia. It was illegals trying to get in this country. And they've been caught multiple times. So, let's see. Probably because they are attacking us. Call me crazy. Yeah. Trump's approval rating, 50%. You know, they say that. Darn beat me to that one. Yeah. So, let's see. Why do you talk about politics? What's your purpose, my brother? Oh, your brother. Okay, I thought you were saying to me I'm your brother. My main purpose, I usually talk about theism and God's existence. Because once you accept God exists, and, you know, you see the actual argument and you see both sides. Because in college, if they don't show you both sides, you're being indoctrinated, not educated. And they don't show both sides in almost any colleges, if any colleges, in the United States. And my dad used to work for one, so he knows better than anybody. And I've seen the debates where people go to these colleges and they get banned from the campus because they screw over their science teacher so bad when it comes to evolution, these kind of things. But basically, I'm here to basically fight secularism. It never ends out good. Historically speaking, secularism never leads to success. It leads to authoritarianism and death and struggle and misery. And I don't want that. I want a happy life. I want happy people in my life. I want to have purpose to my life, and I want other people to know there's purpose to their lives. And I want to make America great again. I want to make the world great again. And, you know, I think that I can do that. I'm just 15 now, but, you know, we're reaching hundreds of people, which, you know, it's just 100 more people who could have gone off one way, have watched my broadcast and changed their mind, and they admit that. So I'd say that's my purpose. And whenever people fan me, it helps my voice get heard more. And I really wish more people would do this. There aren't many out there my age talking about this. And the ones that are out there who aren't my age are just, you know, they're sort of playing the same game as liberals on both sides. I mean, basically you've got the InfoWars people who talk about the blunt facts, but they talk about them bluntly. And they're just so hard for people to believe because they don't have the time to look up the sources, but unless you're me, in which case you do, and you're like, wow, they aren't kidding. So my purpose is to get people saved at the end of the day. That's what matters. When the world's falling apart, people are going to get saved because there's another world coming that's going to be great. Wonderful. And I can't wait to go there. So let's see. But while I'm here, I'm going to make the most of things down here and try to make it great. Pachi, do you live under an actual rock? Have you heard about CERN? Brother, CERN, is that like a last name of someone, or... I'm not quite sure what you mean. Amen, brother. Jay, are you a Christian? I'm curious. I asked you previously, how many sources do you want? I'll just get you a few here. You know, that's a great thing about conservatives is, you know, when I first look at the conservative community, you can really see one side has pieces of paper with sources ready in their pocket. The other side wears a rainbow-colored wig and is shirtless. Which side do you want to choose, kids? The liberals, they're for equality. And I'm just sitting there like, equality? More like stupidity. I mean, it's just awful. Wonderful, Jay. Okay, for some, we're an atheist. It's awesome to have a fellow brother on here. Do you think we will ever go to war with Russia? I mean, sure. I think it's quite possible. It's the last thing Trump wants, and it's the last thing I want. But I think it's possible. I think it's more likely a war would break out. If it did happen, the only way I could see it happening is if Trump decided to make a Bush move and go into the Middle East and take oil and do that kind of thing, and not actually try to get rid of extremism. I don't think that's the guy Trump is, so unless Trump like totally blundered or something, I don't think a war with Russia would happen. And Russia knows that if a war did break out, it would be hell for both sides. And by the way, I don't think hell's a swear word. Not in this context, at least. No. But, I mean, it would. It would be miserable. It'd be a bad idea, and I don't think either side wants to try that. Now, it could happen if they get, what's the word? Antagonized. The only way it could happen is if a group if they got antagonized and they were sort of it started to get personal against country versus country and these kinds of things. And I've talked to Russians on here, my same age, and they're just like, conservatives are the nicest people. We just want to live peaceful lives, We just want to live peaceful lives. We don't want any more wars. We don't want the politics. The reason politics is so big right now is because it's on the verge of going to madness or greatness every single day. Literally, like, it hasn't been like this in a very long time. So, I mean, it could happen. To answer your question, Russia could go to war, and I talk about this with my friends. This is one of my favorite topics, is what if a civil war happened again? What if, what if? I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but, I suppose this isn't conspiracy. I guess it's just theory. But, I think it's interesting. It's an interesting study. I don't think it will happen, though. Let's see. I mean, if you want to stay away from terrorists, there you go. There, Apache, read that, and hopefully you will understand. I'm not sure Apache can read. Should we send him a spelling book? It's like some liberals write a sign and there's a spelling error on it. Speaking of spelling errors by liberals, Talking Heads' website has about 40 spelling errors, and I'm going to show them to you. You won't believe this. It's hilarious. It's to his website. Just want to show this to you guys, just to show you. I'm not doing this to make fun. I'm just saying this guy's a joke. And anyone who takes him seriously, because there are some people who come onto my live stream and they say, oh, Talking Head's a serious guy. He's a real debater and stuff. And I'm just like, no, he's not. He can't even spell. But, so here's his site, and let me zoom in a little bit so you guys can see the spelling error. First of all, my dad thought he was having a heart attack on this picture. He needs me to do his Photoshop for him so that I can get a nicer picture. Maybe I will for him when he becomes a conservative. But basically, let me stretch this out a little bit. Huh, weird. It's not letting me scroll. But basically, in the top section, he puts 2 spaces between every word, and then right below that, he doesn't put 2 spaces. It just goes back to 1. So I'm thinking it was screwed up, or his keyboard was. And right here, subjects, not subjects. And this is a guy with 4,000 followers on YouNow. Now, that's not 4,000 followers on YouNow isn't too much. But again, if this is the leading liberal of YouNow, you would think he would try to do a better job at looking professional. But he's, but that's not Talking Head. That's not liberals in general don't look very professional. But hot war is where there is lives taken. Cold war is where no lives taken. Okay. Are you answering? I don't think I asked that question. I think that's something I didn't know, actually. That's really cool. CERN is a possible reaction of the Big Bang that scientists are trying to create and prove. Well, it sounds like scientists haven't proved it yet. Otherwise, because you said scientists are trying to create and prove it. So, of course, I don't believe it. It's not proven. It's just a theory that scientists are trying to prove to explain it. Let's see. Israel and Palestine have always been warring. They haven't always been warring. They've been warring for a long time, but they haven't always been warring. The reason the warring began is because, for the first time, in the last 100 years, Muslims and their book has become public. Go back 100 years, or 110 years, you couldn't find this book. Now you can. And the reason why is because, you could find this book, but not in English or even in Arabic. It was written in Old Arabic, which was like Old English, but much worse. And none of the Arabs could read it. A lot of them were not literate. So in the last 100 years, this book has started going to circulation in languages that the average person can read, whether they're Arab or American or whatever. Now you can buy a book like this at the bookstore. 110 years ago, you couldn't do that. So basically what you ran into was Muslims for the first time started to read their book. What happened? What started to happen in the last 100 years with Islam? Excruciatingly large amounts of terrorist attacks. A lot of them weren't recorded until the last, 40, 50 years because, television wasn't exactly too bright in the Middle East. It still isn't too bright in the Middle East. ISIS propaganda is helpful for us to figure out but it's propaganda. So, but basically, yeah, I'm not sure why I was talking about that. Oh yeah, about Palestine and Israel. But that's the main reason the warring began, is because the Quran commands them to wage war. And, well, now they read their book. At the same time, they start to read their book. Now this starts to happen. So, let's see. I said I don't think we would go in a hot war, but with Russia, so I need to explain what I meant by hot war. Okay. Maybe a Cold War. Maybe. I think if war did break out, it would go straight to a hot war. I don't think it would be something like that. I think something like a space race, a second one, something like that, could probably, end that conflict. I don't know. I mean, it's not really a battle between communism and Americanism anymore. It's a battle between Americanism versus authoritarianism with people who are kind of okay. They're kind of okay. They weren't struggling like before. But I think a lot of other things would have to happen first before even a Cold War could break out again. But certainly possible, especially with the Turkey situation. Turkey has teamed up with Russia, and Turkey's whenever Turkey teams up with people, bad stuff starts to happen. That's how World War I. So, someone's knocking on my door. Yes.
Got a question.
Yeah.
Nana wants to come up and take you and Noah to fly kites for about an hour up at Great Days.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah. Okay. My dad was wondering if my grandma could come pick me up, take me on a grandma date. She wants to hang out with me because she's in Tennessee and I'm back in Tennessee, so she really wants to hang out. They use the world's largest and most complex scientific instruments to study the basic constituents of matter, the fundamental structure. I need to read these from the front back. Oh, apparently that's what my father said, but it actually is a European organization for nuclear research, physicists, and engineers. Okay, first of all, I think the Big Bang has been disproven. Alright, and I think the reason why, and there's a guy named Halton Arp, I will send you a link to a documentary made by atheists, not creationists. Everyone's like, oh, you're going to go to Answers in Genesis. No, this is not Answers in Genesis. This is atheists exposing that the Big Bang couldn't have happened. And people like Sir Roger Penrose, they admit that the Big Bang is scientifically impossible. But it had to happen, because otherwise there's a designer. And really, they take a leap of faith. Both are starting to have to take a leap of faith. So, but I'll get you this documentary by a guy named Halton Arp. He completely blew the lid on the idea of the Big Bang. He showed that it's actually impossible. And the reason why is because, first of all, there are galaxies in our universe that if a Big Bang happened, through all the testing we've done, these galaxies shouldn't exist, basically. And there are hundreds of them. And they're galaxies spinning backwards to other galaxies. But supposedly it all came from one Big Bang, so that couldn't occur. A galaxy can't start spinning backwards unless something interfered with it outside of the Big Bang, outside of physics, something else. How to hit it, like a meteorite or something. But when you have entire galaxies spinning backwards, every little particle spinning backwards, you got a bit of a problem there. And so I'm going to send you the documentary because it goes into deep detail on this sort of thing. I think it's called Cosmos Search or something like that. But yeah, I love these science documentaries that talk about these things. They're so cool. I love astronomy. It's not my personal hobby. I like space and rockets and stuff, and in my free time I take flight lessons once a week. But basically, I like studying this kind of thing. I think that's the right link. Let me check. Sure that's the right one. Or is that the one I sent earlier on homosexuality? I think I copied it. That's the wrong link. Let me send the right link. Okay, that link is not what I meant to send. This link is the one I meant to send. The one right in the chat here. It's a longer link. That's the one I meant to send. Yes? 5 minutes. Okay. So guys, in 5 minutes I have to go. My grandma's going to be here. So if you have any questions, punch them into your keyboard. The first one is. The one right below it is not the one that was an accident. I didn't mean to send that one. The one below it is the one I meant to send. I'm totally on your side with that. I watched your YouTube video about it, just wondering if you knew about CERN. No, I haven't. Oh, you watched my YouTube video. Thanks for watching it. That's another thing. I need to share this with some people. A lot of my fans live stream. They love my live stream. They're like, we love your show. We love these kinds of things. And I'm really, but they don't know I have a YouTube channel where I have all sorts of stuff, and I need to make more YouTube videos because my last YouTube video has gotten pretty popular. Lots of people are watching. Mainly because it's only video that addresses Hunter Avallone, who's a conservative, but he left theism. He's an atheist now. And he gave his reasons for why he became an atheist. And I showed him one of your reasons has been disproven before. And I'm welcome to debate atheists on my video, but none of them have come up and tried to do that because I'm right. So that's the main reason why. But let me see. I got this on my screen. So now I can copy the link and there we go. So now people can be able to see this. So, On my screen right now, what you are seeing is my channel. If you look up Hunting the Left with spaces in between, right in the search bar here, it will come up and you can become a subscriber and watch my YouTube videos. And there'll be more coming out. I'm not going to say soon because I'm very busy and I'm moving around right now. But there will be more videos coming out, so yeah. Your YouTube videos are awesome. Oh, thank you. There's only one link? There shouldn't be only one link. Let me share my screen and show you. There should be a second link here. 1 second. Let me turn this screen share off. Turn it back on. Yes, I will send you those links. The phone's been buzzing for the last few minutes, so I'm going to send these links and then I got to go because 5 minutes are up. Grandma's waiting for me. Messages. Okay, there's one request. Oh, can you send me both those links you just posted in the stream here? My name is Mason Olds, aka. Yes, 1 second. Okay, let me get these links. Okay, have fun flying kites. Oh yeah, I'm curious if I should get in a fly remote control planes, but I'm curious about drones. I flew one the other day. And my friend let me fly his DJI-4. I can't believe he let me fly his Phantom 4. I mean, it's like this $2,000 drone. And he's like, you want to fly it? You can fly planes. And I'm like, planes are not drones, but okay, I'm not going to pass up your offer, duh. So I'm flying it around. And man, I really like to I have to go, but I will get you those links on my phone. Yeah. So guys, thank you so much for watching this. I will see if I can come on later. If Talking Head shows up, I will do everything I can to get on to stream. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. Become a fan if you are new here, and I'll see you guys all later. Goodbye.